If you're looking to get into film photography, this is probably the best camera that you can get. Sign on this telephone pole. They're renting out an apartment. I mean, points for creativity. Some of my favorite photos that we've ever taken wasn't with our fancy like R6 cameras or our Sony A7S IIIs or even our iPhones. Some of my favorite pictures that we've ever taken were on film cameras. About a year ago we got our first film camera, and honestly it was kind of daunting thinking about embarking on this like new like style of photography. I didn't know that this was a thing, and apparently they do it in other cities, not just here, where you can just pay for somebody to hold your luggage while you wander around. It's like if you don't have like an apartment or you don't have a hotel room or whatever. Here, which I know is unique here, but here it's a lot of like musicians, and they'll have like practice pads or guitars, and they'll just be playing in the back of that thing while they watch. You may or may not know this. I didn't know this before moving to Nashville, but Nashville actually has a baseball team. It's a minor league team, but it's a baseball team nonetheless, and it's within walking distance of our apartment. Meaning that when baseball season comes around, I want to make it a point to try to go to a couple of games. I did that growing up, and well, and the nice thing about minor league baseball teams is the tickets are pretty cheap compared to like the major league. Behind me, over my shoulder, right there, that's the jail, and around that jail, there's not one, not two, but 3 different bail bonds areas, like just around. One of them is called Grumpy's Bail Bonds, and we're going home now. All of this construction right here wasn't here like last week. They're just tearing up the road. I have no idea what they're doing. I'm assuming it's something to do with sewage, considering there's a giant pipe there and there's a hole just beyond that pipe. But I mean, honestly, who knows? In the world of film cameras, there's really two categories that film cameras can fall: like automatic and fully manual. And the automatic ones are basically just point and shoots, kind of like this, just a film version. And whatever you point it at, it's going to take a picture. It's pretty easy to get into that. And for spontaneous stuff and just for fun, it's incredible. But like everything being like fully manual, kind of like your iPhone, it does have its limitations. It's convenient and that's its strength, but if you start getting more involved and more in depth in it, then you start to like hit a glass ceiling and you start to need more control of your camera. That's where the fully manual, this guy, comes in. With this, you can control the aperture, you can control pretty much every aspect of the camera, and if you don't control it, then the camera just doesn't do it. And the reason that I wanted this to be our first film camera, or my first film camera, is because I wanted to learn the ins and outs of how film actually works. And for me, typically the best way to learn is just by doing it. And once you figure out if you want automatic or manual, then there's a whole gamut of possibilities that you can get for manual cameras. But the reason that I recommend this one, if you're looking to get into film photography, this is probably the best camera that you can get. The film camera that we have is a Canon Ae1. And one of the big reasons that we wanted to get this camera was because of just the sheer amount of these that were actually made. And that's good for a couple of reasons. One, it's pretty affordable. Like, I think this whole thing was around $200. And the fact that there's so many of these out there, then chances are you probably know somebody that has one. When we bought this, we actually know 3 other people that have this camera, so if I had questions on the camera, then I could simply ask them. This also has a built-in light meter, which is critical for film photography. If you don't know what that is, just Google it. But it being built in, a lot easier than having like a separate thing on your phone that you'd have to like expose. It's a nightmare if you try to do it with 2 separate things, especially starting out. And the last one it's just super reliable. These things are built like tanks. Like, this is metal. And I mean, it feels like it could be banged around and be totally fine. Like, this camera was built in the 60s and you could not tell that looking at it. And on top of that, just the image that this thing produces is it's incredible. I mean, look at some of these photos we got from Italy. There's something about just taking completely analog photos that's just, there's a beauty in that. If you're looking at getting a film camera of any type, I could not recommend more strongly the Canon Ae1. You can find them pretty much everywhere too. You can get it on Amazon. Actually, we got this one on Amazon.